One of the hardest things to navigate when you're dealing with infertility is that you don't know what you don't know. What are the questions that you should be asking your doctor? What if treatments aren't successful? What happens then? And are there more tests that you can do, and where do you go to get the answers? Being able to advocate for yourself when you feel lost and confused on this journey isn't something that comes easily to a lot of us. On today's episode, we are speaking to a special guest who is going to walk you through how to do exactly that. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. This episode was a lot of fun to record. Today we are speaking with the wonderful Whitney Gingerich, and you might know Whitney as the Fertility Nut on IG or on her YouTube channel. And I have wanted to interview her for a while. She is so funny, so outspoken, and she's just the type of cheerleader that you absolutely want in your corner if you're trying to conceive. Whitney is a registered dietitian and a holistic fertility coach, and she's helping women learn how to nourish, move, and rest their bodies to optimize their hormonal health and fertility. As a board-certified food and fertility nerd with a decade of experience and a knack for health humor, Whitney uses the 5 pillars of fertility to create lasting change so that women struggling to conceive can bring the joy and pleasure back into their lives while also addressing the root cause of their health issues. We talk about so much in this episode. We go into how to ask the right questions, advocating for yourself with your doctor, and being able to work in harmony with your medical team, which is something that isn't taught to us, isn't something that comes easily. So she's going to walk you through a few really practical tips and ways that you can do this to make your life just feel so much easier on this journey. One of the things that Whitney is so passionate about is helping couples get past this whole kind of one-size-fits-all approach to fertility treatments and how you can better understand your own health and your own underlying health issues on this journey so that if you need treatments, you're more likely to have a successful outcome when you do. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Here is Whitney. Whitney, I'm so excited to have you here. As I was just saying before we hit record, massive fangirl of you and all that you do and all that you share. But instead of me just blubbering about how awesome you are, can you give us a little intro about who you are and what is your mission? What is the work that you love to do?
Yeah, it's so hard for me to boil this down. I am the worst. If you've listened to me, if any of the listeners have heard me on a podcast before, I always say the same thing. I never know exactly how to answer this. And someone would always be like, well, just not make something up, but just say, the little spiel. But it feels so hard to boil down the work, like being in the fertility space, like just simply saying, I help people get pregnant. It never seems to do the trick. And then you're like, well, I help people get their diet and lifestyle in line to improve fertility. And that opens up a whole can of worms. So my elevator pitch is awful, but essentially what I do is help women figure out what's going on with their hormones and align their diet and lifestyle to align. I should have used that word later, but align with their dreams of growing their family.
Thank you. No, I think that sums it up beautifully. And you come at things from like a very scientific perspective. And obviously there's a lot of data to back up all of the things that you do and that you teach. But you also come from the perspective of I'm here to empower you and show you how to look after your own body, which I think is so valuable. And it's what is taken away from us on this journey. I think especially when you go down the path of assisted fertility treatments and IVF, like your whole being is sort of taken from you. Your body is basically a guinea pig. You're just, being poked and prodded and that's it, pincushion. And I think that there is such a lack of, well, let's empower you to make the choices based on the knowledge that you should know. So I'm excited to get into this topic today. And I want to talk about the things that your doctor or your clinic might have missed. And I know this is something you're quite passionate about. And it also frustrates me because like doctors are amazing. Like, do not get me wrong. There are so many amazing fertility doctors. I think it is not the doctors that are the problem. It is the system and the way that their training is set up. And then the process of, well, it has become so commercialized, honestly.
Yep.
Like, the doctors themselves are not the problem exactly, but these clinics are there to make money. And that means that things get missed and overlooked. So can you share your thoughts on where to go with that? But what do you see? What are the main things that you're seeing when women come to you?
So where I'm based in the US, and I worked in the conventional medical setting for 7 years prior to starting this practice. And specifically, I worked in the weight loss sector. And so it was very similar, like financially driven, we'll put it that way. And I remember sitting on a meeting with one of the managers, and she was explaining, and I'm a dietitian, that's my training. But I was a medical provider. Like I was part of the team, the medical provider team. And they were explaining how we needed to keep our appointments to 7 minutes or less in order to keep the clinic afloat. Basically, to pay for the office staff, to pay for the facility, to pay for the insurance billers, all the overhead that goes along with that. And I just, my eyes are probably as big as dinner plates, because how do you properly, and I'm not a diagnostician, but if you are providing a service, you have to figure out, first you have to assess what's happening, you have to build a plan, and then you have to educate and do all of that in 7 minutes. And especially when we start talking about something as nuanced as fertility, no two women are going to be dealing with the same issues. No two women are going to have the same relationships or lifestyle factors, all of these different things. Fertility is not one dimensional. It's not just about your reproductive organs. And it's just, because of the way the system is set up, we don't have time to address any of those issues. And so there are so many things that get lost. And most of it is the things that I focus on, that you focus on, the diet and lifestyle factors, the things that we have control over, not the prescriptions, the medications. Like I always say, doctors, I love that they are in charge of that, because I have no interest, none whatsoever. But unfortunately, their hands are tied. I don't think anybody goes into this space wanting to do harm or looking to push people into things that they're not ready for. It's just the way it's designed, unfortunately. And I don't blame the physicians. I don't think anybody would go into medical school that's a lot of student debt to take on to do bad work. No one wants to do that.
No, that's a really good point. You're not going to go into tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and study for, what is it, 10 years or something?
Excessive.
Yeah, exactly. That isn't the problem. But thank you for explaining that. And gosh, 7 minutes. I mean, no.
No.
I
couldn't even get my intro out in 7 minutes, Jen. Like, did you hear me? I help people get pregnant and then goes into a huge diatribe. But 7 minutes, I just don't have time. I need more time.
So I assume that you give a lot more time to your patients and your clients when you work with them.
Yeah.
So when women come to you, what do you feel that it is that is being overlooked? I mean, I think that no one is actually looking at what is going on in a woman's body. There's sort of these one-size-fits-all protocols, and they seem to be like, well, if you're not ovulating, well, we take ovulation induction medication, and then we do IUIs, and then we do IVFs, and that's just the blanket response for everyone. Yeah. So what are you finding that women are then coming to you for?
I don't think so what I find women come to me to get pregnant, number one goal, but we don't have control over that. And so what they're largely coming to me is to take back the control a little bit, to know what's going on, to learn about what's going on with their bodies. When I'm working with people, the thing that I see gets missed so more than anything is that they're human. They're people. They are, mammals. Their bodies are susceptible to the same thing every other mammal is. If our relationships are unstable, if our lifestyle is unstable, if we are under a lot of stress, we can't pretend that those things don't affect us. And as much as we like to, in the scientific community, control all of the variables and just like make it as streamlined as possible, we can't with fertility. It's not it doesn't work that way, because it combines the science, the very objective data, and the very physical part of it. But also there's this like magical woo woo part where you're bringing a soul into on earth. There are pieces of this that they're just, it's not always tangible. It's not always just something, a little box you can check. We have to look at each individual person and their lifestyle. And so what I see being missed more than anything, what people come to me for, is to be treated like a person again, and to learn what is actually going on and create a plan based on what they need. That was, again, see, 7 minutes, it's not for me.
Isn't that so? The being treated like a person again is a big one. I remember the first time that I worked with a holistic practitioner, and she just took time to ask me questions. What is your relationship like? What are your stress levels like? Are you sleeping? No fertility doctor had asked me any of those things. And it is ridiculous to think that they don't matter on this journey when you're trying to bring another person into the world. Like, it matters because your body is always going to prioritize looking after you before it brings another being into this. So
Absolutely.
When we are looking at women's health as a whole, what are fertility doctors not really looking at that someone like you can then provide?
Okay, so I have a lot of things I would say here. So for the very first question, well, not the very first question, but in my intake, one of the things I have my clients do is walk me through a typical weekday. Just walk me through from the minute you wake up. What time do you wake up? Where do you wake up? Do you wake up in your bed, on the couch? I want to know exactly how your day is laid out. And you already mentioned the specifics with relationships. Relationships are a very, very important piece. So there's your daily life, your habits, your relationships, but also the things that I look at like physically are very different than the things that doctors look at. They are monitoring on an ultrasound. They might be neat, and I'm going to say might here. They don't always do the blood work, but sometimes they're looking at blood work. I'm looking at cervical fluid. I'm looking at your daily energy levels, your bowel movements. What is very, very closely looking at your menstruation, how long, what the color is, pain. There's a lot of these things that get overlooked that are part of the monthly cycle. Are you in pain throughout the cycle? Are you experiencing excessive or irregular bleeding? All of these are little kind of red flags that help direct where we spend our energy. And oh my gosh, I could do a whole podcast on just basal body temping alone. So there's the daily personal factors that they don't really take into account, but there's also just the physical monitoring, bowel movements, energy levels, anything that's coming out of you, basically. I'm going to be looking at
it. Good times.
Good.
And so why are these things so important, and then why are they overlooked by doctors?
I think because they don't have any tools in their toolbox to solve it. So the protocol, I find that a lot of physicians aren't really interested in digging into a lot of this stuff because their protocol is not going to be different. So if you're not producing a whole lot of fertile cervical fluid, their protocol is going to be the same as if you're not ovulating at all. And if you have PCOS, your protocol is going to be the same as if you have endometriosis. There's no real difference because of the lack of time and availability for them to do the diet and lifestyle part. Because I'll be honest, it takes time for me to go through and talk to someone about, tell me what time you ate for breakfast. Were you hungry right after? Were you energized? Do you usually skip breakfast? Any of those little conversations, they take time. And so that's not in their wheelhouse. And so what's the point in asking if it's not going to change the outcome? But for me, like if you're a really early ovulator, that tells me something. If you are a late ovulator, that tells me a different something. And so what we do with your protocol as far as diet and lifestyle, it does change significantly with those factors, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It makes perfect sense. I remember I was diagnosed with a thyroid condition when I was struggling to conceive. And I remember asking my doctor if they could please check my thyroid antibodies because they'd only checked my TSH. And her response was, well, no, it doesn't matter because my treatment will be the same. And I just found that really glaringly obvious that there was something missing, which then prompted me to go and work with someone in a more holistic way. Can you talk about this difference between your labs are normal
Yeah.
and what optimal labs should be? And again, why is there a disconnect?
Oh, fertility is such a luxury. It is. It's a luxury function. It is at the very, very bottom of our body's to-do list. And so if we're looking at what's normal, you can function. So if you're not trying to get pregnant, like you were, can I ask, was your thyroid like clinically hypothyroid or were you subclinical?
It was clinical.
It was clinical. And so I see a lot of subclinical hypothyroid where if you're not trying to get pregnant, it's probably not going to affect you a whole lot. You might feel a little bit of fatigue, but it's not significant. But if you're trying to get pregnant, we don't just need good enough. We need more than enough. Fertility in its nature is overabundance, it's creation, it's excess. And so if we're barely scraping by on our lab work or our daily functions, we're not going to have enough left over in order to devote more nutrients and energy into egg quality, sperm production, embryo, not only just fertilization, but embryo development. All of these different functions take energy. And so we need more than enough. You have to be overflowing in order to well, I don't like to use the word have to, but we like it. We like overflowing. And that means optimizing your functions or optimizing your lab work so that we can make it as easy as humanly possible for your body to do that, to devote all that energy and nutrition and nutrients into all of those functions.
Absolutely. And so, why are we still getting told that normal is okay when we're still not seeing results? And I mean, fertility rates the world over are declining at rapid, rapid levels. So,
Mhm.
why are things not changing? It's a bigger question than this
I
podcast.
know. I was just
Considered to.
thinking there's so many different angles. I think that with anything, actually, fertility is annoying. I'll be honest. Like, it is an annoying space to be in because it is so multidimensional. You can't just boil it down to just one thing. Um, I think it's just one, anything changing in the medical community is slow. On average, if a research study comes out, at least here in the US, it takes about 17 years before the guidelines change or before typical practices change. And
Mm.
so things are very, very slow moving. And then you're also going to have a lot of pushback from pharmaceutical companies that are revenue generating. They're making money hand over fist. Fertility drugs are big business and fertility procedures are a big business. And so getting in some of these, I'll put them non-lucrative, like me telling you to eat breakfast and explaining like how to, start your day in a better way. No one's making money. Like that's not going to be a massive generator. And so the focus and the aim and what's the word I want to use? I've got something on the tip of my tongue. It's like the resources devoted to changing the landscape are hard to come by.
Which
I
makes
don't know
sense.
if did I answer the question? That was
Yeah,
a big one.
honestly, it is a very big question. 17 years between clinical research and changes. That's frightening, isn't it? It's like the
Mhm.
food pyramid when we're in,
Oh my
primary school. Yeah, I know. We've moved
gosh.
on from that, haven't we?
We have moved on from the pyramid, thank God.
Thank you.
Uh,
Can I ask you about advocating for yourself? And this is something that's really hard to do because when you are first experiencing difficulties in conceiving, you think, especially in the Western world, well, I have to go to my doctor and they've got all this training and knowledge and up on the pedestal, I'm going to do what they say. And then we go down that path and things don't work out and you start to educate yourself and you realize
mhm.
that there are different things that you can try. But we tend to get a lot of pushback. And I've been dismissed by more than one doctor, as have most of the students that I've worked with. And you must see this all the time. No, that's not relevant to you. No, I don't know, it's too experimental. And how can we start to advocate for ourselves in a way that gets us somewhere?
Okay. So this could get me in some hot water. And like I said, I don't think doctors go into their profession wanting to do bad work or wanting to overlook or dismiss people. But it does happen because of the way the system is set up. And so with it with it being the way it is, doctors are the gatekeepers. They have the ones to create the diagnosis codes. They're the ones to prescribe. They're the ones to decide what you get to move forward with. And so, and especially, and I'm going to speak specifically to my experiences. I don't want to assume anything anywhere else, but here in the US, our availability of practitioners is limited by our insurance companies. So whoever your insurance provider is, you get a policy with them, and then they have a list of providers that you're allowed to see, or they call it covered physicians. And so you might have some limitations with that, and you maybe get like 30 doctors to choose from. That's generous. That's a big insurance company, maybe 5, depending on where you live. So you're going to have to sort of, for some of us, I would say, some of us have freedom where you get to choose a physician. And if you have that availability, please shop around. Find someone that jives with you, that wants to work with you. When you ask them questions, they are responsive and willing to answer those questions. There are doctors out there that exist. So if you have availability to shop around, it is worth it, because you want to be able to trust the person you're working with. You are the patient. You're going to understand what I say when a lot of the women that I work with are very type A, intelligent, very, very motivated women. They can do the research. Believe me, they can do the YouTubing. They can do all the Googling. They are willing to do the education part for themselves. But I urge you to not do that, because when you are spending, not saying you shouldn't research at all, but when you are spending all of your extra energy, if you're staying up late at night doing all the Googling and trying to piece together this plan, a lot of your energy is being devoted to creating the plan instead of focusing on yourself and following it. And so if you can find a practitioner that you can trust and can help guide you, and you can ask questions, and you feel confident that when they give you an answer, you can just be like, cool, he said don't do that, or she said this is awesome, and I get to move forward with that. You don't have to lose your mind second guessing yourself all the time. So if you have the option to shop around, I strongly recommend it. But if you don't, I have some techniques. I actually did a YouTube video on it. The first thing, and I got a couple, like some feedback on it that wasn't, not bad feedback, but I think you got to butter your doctor up, because they're just people. And if you're trying to get someone to work with you, coming in guns a-blazing and being like, I read this, this, and this, and this, and I like it, just like second guessing themselves, or second guessing the physician the whole time. A lot of times I find that they are defensive and not open. And we don't want that, because I love combining both conventional and holistic sides of things. That's my happy spot. We want everyone on the same page. And so sometimes that might look like, sorry, I feel like I don't feel manipulative. This isn't manipulative. It is using the tools you have in your toolbox, but it can feel that way for some people. But kind of like, hey, you are the smart doctor, or you are the intelligent one. This is your area of expertise, and I would always come to you for this stuff. And I've been reading these things, and I've got some questions about it, but I'm not 100% sure. Can you give me your feedback, or I really need your professional opinion. I'm just like, sort of, people love to feel good. They love to feel recognized and important. And especially if they're learning something new, or if you are trying to approach it in a different way than they normally do. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well. If I'm not, let me know. But if you're trying to go a different route or approach a problem different than the normal protocol, some people are uncomfortable with it. One, shop around if you can. And if that's not going to work, if that's not an available thing to you, then trying to work with your doctor as much as possible. And thank goodness there's online practitioners now too. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of different options. You are not stuck.
I can absolutely attest to the going in guns blazing. This is what I want. This is what you need to do for me. Doesn't really work, because imagine if that was you in your area of expertise, and it's like, okay, well, why are you here? Do you want my help or not? So yeah. That does make sense, Whitney. Thank you. What do you wish that women knew more about, or what do you wish they knew about this journey that they're not learning when they go through treatments or they're going to their doctor, that someone like you really helps them with?
Oh, that's a big one.
Especially before jumping into treatments. Like, what do you really wish that we should know before considering treatments?
There's a lot I really want women to know, but one of the things that I like probably the number one thing is you have time. You have time to, if it, we've got all been told, like, we're just going to run out of eggs one day, just poof, it's just going to be gone. She's closed up shop and it could happen at any minute. Like, they're gone. They don't exist anymore. And fertility, thankfully, doesn't work in such a linear progression. There are a lot of different things that impact your fertility. And while age and time are absolutely factors that we need to consider, we also need to consider your stress levels and your nutrition and the physical stress you've been under, if you've been doing back to back to back treatment rounds or months of monitoring. We need to consider your relationships. We need to consider your gut health and your thyroid conditions, autoimmune conditions in general. There are a lot of other things that impact your fertility. And so when I say you have time immediately, and I know if you're listening to this, you might be like, wait, shut up. Like this, I'm so tired of hearing whatever. It's just, time is a very real thing and we don't have control over it. It sucks. It sucks to not have control over that piece. But if you want to take a few months off and regroup, and you want to take some time off to work on yourself or focus on regulating your cycles, you absolutely have that time. And it can absolutely improve your chances of success, whether you try and get pregnant naturally or with the support of artificial reproductive technology like IVF or IUI. Giving yourself the time, because we can't force healing. We can't. Your body is your body. Kind of going back to that point we were talking about in the very beginning, you're a human and we have to allow you to be a human and we can't just bypass that part. And so the number one thing I would say is you have time to figure it out. We have time to support the body if we need to, and you have time to take a break if you need to. And I think just allowing yourself that one piece, if we didn't change anything else, we just took off that like, hurry faster, you can't, like that rush piece, changes a lot of how you're experiencing this journey. And it allows you to make choices from a different place instead of coming from scarcity or lack or panic. No, I want to do this. I am ready to move forward with this. It settles. It's much more settled in the body. And hormonally speaking, just scientifically speaking, night and day difference between wanting to do something or feeling like you have to do it.
That's it. And gosh, it drives me crazy when the few fertility doctors that are quite big on social media and do have a big presence, when they say that preconception phase is irrelevant and you just need to start IVF straight away.
I think we probably saw the same thing.
Why do they keep saying this? And it has been proven like time and time again
time again. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, no, that doesn't. You don't have time. You don't have the 3 or 4 months. And I just think it just really rubs me up the wrong way. So thank you for sharing that.
Not a problem. I think we probably both saw the same reel a couple of months back, and I just like twitching, just thinking about it. It does not make sense. And kind of to your point, what you were saying, why isn't it recognized? I don't know. I don't know why this isn't. Actually, I don't know why it's not more taken advantage of, to be honest. Like why this isn't just a normal thing in all fertility clinics, diet, lifestyle support, having like someone on staff to walk people through this. It's just, yeah.
The one fertility doctor that I do know of who has a naturopath on staff in every one of his clinics, and it's compulsory for all of his patients to work alongside his protocols with the naturopath. His success rates are through the roof. And I just think, like, why isn't that an incentive enough for other clinics to incorporate some of these practices? It really is mind-blowing, and it just, I think, screams to the fact that more rounds is more profitable. And, you know, why do one round well when you do 3 rounds?
Yeah, when you're just looking at it as like a numbers game instead of a quality game, it's a very different approach. And it breaks my heart because it could be so different, not just with the success rates, but also patient experience going through it. It really sucks to be just feeling like your body is failing and getting no support from your team and paying, I would say, investing a lot in every aspect of your life.
We do. It is a time investment, an emotional investment, a massive financial investment. Like it takes absolutely everything from your life. So if we're going to do treatments, we need to make sure we're giving ourselves the best possible chance of them working. So I just wish that I had known that well before I landed in treatments. And it, you see it time and time again. It's incredibly frustrating.
It
What
is,
do
and a
you?
lot of us don't stay we don't kind of to add to that point, like, we just don't take the time to learn anything or really understand our bodies up until we're ready to get pregnant. That's sort of the time when we finally start to go, "Oh, this period my periods are really irregular," or, "Oh, yeah, I don't know if I'm ovulating." Like, these are things that as women, we should know for once we start menstruating, and we don't, and that's no fault of anybody who's listening. If you don't know what's going on, it's not your fault. It's a lot of us don't take the time to learn about ourselves until we're ready to grow other people.
It's so true. I was speaking to one of my students today, actually, and she was trying for 6 months. And she admits that she doesn't actually know, she didn't at that stage know what trying meant. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll have sex a few more times in the month than we normally would. She had no idea what trying actually meant. And when you go back to it, when are we taught this? Our mothers, the boomers weren't talking about sex and periods and bodies. Well, the ones that I knew certainly weren't. And I said, like, who else are we going to learn this from? It's incredibly frustrating. And I hope that things are slowly changing, slowly, slowly.
Baby steps. If we just keep shouting into the void, Jen, eventually someone's going to hear us.
And that is why we're here. What do you find that women end up believing about their bodies when they have been down this path of treatments being unsuccessful? And what do they kind of come to you and say, well, is it that I'm broken, that this is never going to happen for me? And what do you think that you're able to help them walk away with and help them change that perspective with?
I think when fertility hurdles happen, it's almost just confirmation of everything you thought the whole time, because we're told from such a very young age there's something wrong with you. The eyes are funky, your face is misshapen, you don't walk the right way or talk the right way, you don't look the right way, you don't have a flat stomach, whatever that is. And so when fertility struggles happen, it just sort of, instead of questioning why it's happening, it's so easy to be like, yeah, well, I mean, I've been broken my whole life, so this is pretty spot on. I've never felt good in my body, or I've never trusted my body. And so, like, naturally, this would be the next thing. And so it's really easy if you've been told your whole life that you need to change in order to be accepted or fit in, or be like, I mean, using air quotes for my listeners here, like, fit, like to be a part of the collective or something, or whatever that is. We have to change something. And so with fertility, it's like, okay, well, of course I would need to change something in order to get pregnant, or I would need to get treatment to fix what's inherently wrong with me. And so what I hope and what I try to work with women on is questioning, instead of just being like, yeah, I'm broken, this is how I am, trying to read the signs. So if you are low energy, all right, let's look at why you're low energy. If your cycles are irregular, let's take a look at your hormones to figure out what's going on there. These signs and symptoms that we take as normal, just because they're common doesn't mean they're normal. And they're signs. It's the way your body communicates. It can't just give you like a daily report on how things are going. It tells you in your energy levels, and how your bowels are moving, in how your output is in cervical fluid, menstrual blood. All these different things tell us what's going on inside. And so instead of being mad at those signs, or being irritated that you have ovulation issues, which, I mean, you can be irritated, it is really annoying. Trying to look at it as, okay, what does my body need? What kind of support is it asking for? And coming into that space with your body, instead of just constantly fighting it, constantly pushing it, constantly punishing it. And we're so good at punishing it. This is what we do. We love it. We starve ourselves. We try to fit in different things. We try to change it all the time. And so instead of trying to change it, it's supporting it. How can I help you to work the way you're meant to work?
I actually got a bit of goosebumps when you were saying that. That's such a lovely reframe. Thank you. This idea that your body is just trying to have a little conversation with you, and it's like, hi, little problem over here. I'm just going to give you a little nudge. That's it. Oh, I really relate to that. So thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared. I love how outspoken you are and how just unapologetic you are about so many things, the medical system and just women's bodies and the way that we're treated. And I just, on behalf of everyone who follows and loves your work, big thank you, Whit. If people want to learn more about you and get in touch, what's the best way to do that?
Well, you can always go to my website, but if you want like the day-to-day stuff, Instagram and TikTok is where I spend most of my time. And I also have a YouTube channel now. Woohoo!
You do. I've seen your videos. They're amazing. They're really informative, and it's better than these, 30, 10-second videos that we get on IG and TikTok.
It is. I'm so impressed when people can get out like a concise, full, like perfect explanation in a 15-second clip. It's just, I'm fascinated by folks that are that well spoken. It's just not me. I need a few more minutes.
You're very humble, but your YouTube channel is very informative and very helpful. So I'd highly encourage people to go and check that out as well. So thank you so much for everything, Whit. You're amazing.
Thanks for having me.
I had so much fun speaking to Whitney on this episode, and I really hope that you got a lot out of it. And if you want to learn more about her, learn all the ways in which you can work together with Whitney, then please check the links in the show notes. I'm going to link up her Instagram account as well as her YouTube channel, which is really, really, really helpful. Now, on the next episode of the podcast, we are diving into the day that we absolutely dread when we are going through fertility issues, and that is, what do you do when you have a negative pregnancy test? How do you pick yourself up and keep going? And what can you do to support yourself when that happens? So until then, I am sending you all my love as you continue your own journey to fertility.